Well, we have reached the appointed hour, and I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for being here today. And those of you that have traveled, thank you for being here. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And the first item is roll call. So let me go down by the member list. So Eddy County.
Present. Susan Crockett.
Susan Crockett. Jack Bopato. Present. City of Carlsbad.
President Jason Shirley.
Jason Shirley and John Heaton. Lee County.
President Jonathan Senna.
President Mike Gallagher.
City of Hobbs. Finn Smith says present, he's online. Mayor Cobb, I don't think is in attendance, he had a conflict. I think he's in Denver. So we do have a quorum. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 29th, 2019. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the special meeting of the Board of Directors minutes from October 29th, 2019.
And I'll second that.
So Commissioner Crockett moves, Commissioner Senna seconds. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Eddy County, Ms. Crockett.
Yes.
City of Carlsbad, Mr. Shirley.
Yes.
Lee County, Mr. Senna.
Yes.
City of Carlsbad, or City of Hobbs, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Smith votes yes. So the next item on the agenda are staff comments. Any, Mr. Caldwell, or?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the financial report. Mr. Lowe.
Yes, if you'll turn to page 3 of your packet, if we look, our beginning cash balance at July the 1st was $131,431.99. We've not had any revenue received at this point during the year. We have expenditures of $32,161.53, and we have an ending cash balance at November 30th of $99,270.46. And I stand for any questions about that.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions, suggestions? Okay, then the next item on the agenda, thank you, Chip, for that. Next item on the agenda is approving the accounts payable. Mr. Lowe.
Yes, if you look down there below with details of expenses paid year to date, it'll be the last 3 checks will be the current ones that since the last meeting that have not been approved.
Okay.
Montgomery Andrews, Scott Northam, and Montgomery Andrews again on their retainer.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve those accounts payable.
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Mr. Shirley moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Senna seconds. Is there any further questions or discussion? If not, I'll assume you're ready to vote. Then Eddy County, Ms. Crockett.
Yes.
City of Carlsbad, Mr. Shirley.
Yes.
Lee County, Mr. Senna.
Yes.
City of Hobbs, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is considering the approval of the audit. Mr. Lowe and Mr. Northam.
Yes, sir, Mr. Northam is gonna present that for us today.
Scott, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everybody.
So,
We'll try to do this pretty quick so you guys can get on with the agenda. This is my second year to do the audit, and I appreciate you guys approving my accounts payable just a second ago. We're going to do this pretty quick. We have an unmodified opinion for this year with the amount of transactions that we had. We had 100% coverage of testing of revenues and expenses, so that was not an issue there. Internal controls with the county has been extended to the alliance, so there's no issues that we had on internal controls. So we issued we had no findings for the audit for the second consecutive year. We want to go quickly to page 3. As Chip had mentioned, the cash at the end of the year was $131,432. Then we have the land that's in for sale, and just a little bit of accounts payable at the end of June. Page 4 had the revenues where we had member contributions, a little bit of rental income, and then the expenses going out for the year. So we had a net change of $27,000 for the year, which kept you guys in a good positive net position. Cash flow is on page 5, where it shows amount of cash received from the rentals, from the members, and how the cash flow came. So operating activities increased by $32,000, and with the beginning cash balance of $98,000, we came out with that $131 at the end of the year. Note A, on page 6 through 7, our basic nonprofit governmental disclosures, so we really don't need to get into that unless you want to, and if you're bored, you can look at it later. Note B just talks about the cash and cash equivalents, because the cash is in trust with Lee County as the fiscal agent. All security and collateralization is at the county level. So, even if not, the FDIC covered it at $250,000. So, with the cash being under $250,000, in the case the banks do fail, then you guys would be covered. We added a new note this year to spice up the audit, because everybody knows that audits are exciting in its own right. So we added member equity to show how the flow for the 4 entities, their contributions since 2013 has come through, and down to the percentage of equity as of the end of the fiscal year. And then note D talks about the land purchase option with Holtec. And it just a lot of just has the contingency just in case something does not occur. Page 10 is the budget, original, final, and actual. Came in under budget, so no finding on that. And then the report on internal control on page 11. 11 and 12, which just describes what I said earlier, there's no findings. So, that was a pretty quick go through. I stand for any questions, comments, concerns, clarifications.
Okay, questions, concerns? Members? I think it's very clean audit from my perspective.
It was a very clean audit,
And,
it's a privilege to work with you.
100% testing all the activities. So I think no findings is always
It's always
a
good.
pleasure for me to see. So with that, if there are no other questions, let me take a second just to thank Lee County for being our fiscal agent. It's really an important activity that goes on, and just say from the Eddy Lea Alliance, we really appreciate you doing that. It's a monumental task and responsibility, so thank you so much. So,
Thank you.
so with that, I would entertain a motion to adopt the audit report.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the audit.
Mr. Shirley moves to adopt the audit. Ms. Crockett moves or seconds the motion. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, then we will vote. Eddy County,
Susan Crockett, yes.
City of Carlsbad,
Yes.
Jason Shirley, yes. The Lee County,
Jonathan Senna, yes.
Commissioner Sena, yes. City of Hobbs,
Ken Schmidt, yes.
City of Hobbs votes yes online, and it unanimously passes. Mr. Northam, thank you very much for your consideration and your presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Lowe, do we need to approve, we've approved it for the following year, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, it will come up in the spring. They'll issue the state auditor will open it up for us to procure. And our recommendation at the March meeting will be to continue to go with Mr. Northern.
And am I correct that we have 3 years, a limit of 3 years, is that
4 more years.
4 years?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page on that. Okay, so the next item is considering the proposal from the City of Carlsbad. And the City of Carlsbad has sent us a letter being willing to take over the general counsel activities of the Eddy Lea Alliance. And I would call your attention to the third paragraph and the last couple of sentences in that paragraph, where the city is requiring that, or the city is requiring that we provide a malpractice insurance for the general counsel that will be practicing, or at least representing, Eddy Lea Alliance. And as an item, I can't tell you how much that is, or what the amount is. And talking to Ms. Boyer, who is in the back of the room, she indicates that that amount would probably, she would request a policy, or the city would request a policy for $100,000 per incident. And I would suggest that we adopt this letter, or accept the city's recommendation with a provision, if you would, that would say, in essence, to give you an idea of what I think an appropriate motion may be, is that if I can find my note, I don't know where I put it. I would suggest that we would move to accept the offer of the City of Carlsbad to provide general counsel services contingent on being able to purchase a malpractice insurance at no more than $2,500 annually, and for an incident level of $100,000. If that would, I'd ask maybe Mr. Caldwell, do you have any comments? Or do you want to?
Mr. Chair, members of the Eddy Lea Board, I'm not sure the policy is necessary. Plus it is an additional expense. Ms. Boyer and I were talking prior to the meeting, but I don't have a recommendation.
Thank you.
I'll defer to the City of Carlsbad. So.
Well, from a prior RFP that we put out, that would be a significant reduction in what the cost would be. And that seems to be an unyielding position of the city. So it's up to this board to make a decision whether you want to adopt this or not, contingent on the fact that we can find a policy that would cover $100,000 per incident at less than $2,500 per year.
Has anybody looked toward that policy at this point, or have we had any initial?
We've done some searching for it, and the issue, as I understand it, is that they will not give you a price until you make an application. And that application would include what other liabilities are already covered by the city, as an example, and makes a determination of what the rates would be. So you can't, unfortunately, we've talked about it at length, but until an application is made, then I just can't, there's no way for us to tell you what the cost would be.
I don't have a problem with it, because I think that's, I'm so grateful for the city of Carlsbad and willing to be a part in that way. I guess my question would be, once we find somebody or work with the attorneys to find an insurance policy, do we have to come back and approve it? Is that how that would
Well,
work?
if we pass the motion contingent on it being less than the $2,500 per year, and I understand that in the past it's been more like $1,500, but just to be on the cautious side, I'm suggesting the $2,500 number.
The only thing we have to approve is the contract with the insurance company, correct?
Proving that, well, as long as we can get it, as long as the policy is less than $2,500, then the motion would then be in effect. You're basically approving, not only accepting the letter, but you're approving a financial consideration as
Go ahead
well.
and just get it done, is what you're saying?
That's what I'm suggesting, but it's your call.
I think that, once we receive proposals, from an insurance company, I think that should come back to the board to approve that contract. Even at the amount, I mean, I think that should be approved even if it's under the $2,500. That this board should make a ruling on that.
Other discussion?
So, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Gallagher.
in that case, I can understand, I appreciate Councilor Shirley's thoughts on that. In the interim then, who would the city of Carlsbad begin to provide us with legal representation? The letter that we have says that they'll start at the beginning of the month. Yes, that's this month, but it's unclear to me if during that interim between now and the time in which the Eddy Lea board would take action on approving the insurance contract as Councilor Shirley has proposed, who would handle that legal representation in the interim? Is that something that the city of Carlsbad would provide? Or would it still be the county? See what I'm saying? 'Cause I don't know when we're gonna meet again.
I'm a little confused because Councilman Shirley indicated that this would not be approved, we'd have to come back and reapprove the amount. And if we have to come back and reapprove the amount, then I would assume that Mr. Caldwell would still continue representing us, which,
I see it as, any contracts that come before the body need to be approved by the body, the specifics of that contract. I know we're putting a general dollar amount not to exceed $2,500, but the specifics of that policy, I think, needs to come before the entire board.
So with that, and I don't disagree with you, Councilor Shirley, with that, Mr. Chair, would it make sense then to postpone this item to the next meeting where we have both the I don't know what you call it, the item that Councilor Shirley was referring to for us, for the board to consider that, as well as Carlsbad taking over. It seemed that the two would be, you know, intertwined with one another.
As a follow-up question to that, or to add to that, can we proceed with a policy before this board takes any action? I don't know that we can. And then I guess the 1A of that question, at least for me, would be, if we can't, I know that our regularly scheduled meetings are spread out, and then we also have the holidays. Are we allowed, according to our bylaws, to do this as an email vote, or do we have to meet? I don't know what our requirement is.
We would have to have a special meeting, but Mr. Caldwell,
Mr. Chair, Councilor Shirley, you would be required to have a special meeting if you didn't do it at a regular meeting.
would you give us the stipulations of special meeting, prior notice to the public?
It's 72 hours public notice, the agenda would have to be published simultaneously, so it's 72 hours for a special meeting.
Okay, and we probably only have this one item on the agenda. So,
I guess we postpone and have them both together.
so
Is that kind of what we're talking about?
I don't know. I think that kind of goes back to the first part of that question. Can we proceed with applying for an insurance policy before this board takes action to transfer legal counsel?
Mr. Chair, Councilor Shirley, I
Ms.
would defer to Ms. Boyer.
Ms. Boyer, do you have an
But
answer
it's
to
going to
that?
be, it would be her that would apply for the insurance policy, because it's going to be a legal malpractice policy. So it would not be the board who submits the application, but it would have to be Ms. Boyer.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Lea board, as a professional, we have to apply as an individual. And the insurance company would look at a number of things. One of the things they would look at is the type of law I would be practicing under this policy. So my employer is the city of Carlsbad, it's not the Lea board. We have a joint powers agreement with the city of Carlsbad for us to sort of work together on this project. I am being basically loaned to you all because as a city attorney, I'm not allowed to have outside clients. The only clients I can have is the city of Carlsbad. This is an additional duty above and beyond what I'm allowed to do as a deputy city attorney. So the insurance company will have to look at the type of law I would be practicing when representing the Lea board. And then they would have to look at the risk that they are undertaking and determine the rates. It's kind of like if you have car insurance, you know, if you're a bad driver and have a bad history, that also is part of what they look at. But if you're a good driver and have no accidents or anything, then you're gonna get a better rate than the person that has a bad history. They also look at the risk. You know, if you have an old car, it's gonna cost so much to replace the old car, but if you have a brand new car, it's gonna cost a lot more. So it's very specific and individual to what is being applied for. So I don't know the rate. All I know is in the past, I've been practicing law for 36 years. My rates have only been around $1,500 a year consistently for the last at least 20 years, because I haven't had any claims, so.
Do you
I
recommend?
don't know what it would be, because I've never practiced for where my advice was going to be asked on a matter that involves this type of an entity.
So I guess my question was, are you at liberty to go and apply for the policy before you have documentation from this board that we want to move forward?
I think I can apply. Now, they may say, I want to look at your contract or something to see what the scope of work is going to be. And if so, then I'll have to come back to you and say, I'm sorry, you know, I'll need to have authorization that you are accepting the city of Carlsbad's offer for me to serve as general counsel before they will give me a rate. But I think I can go ahead and apply and start the process.
And use the basic precepts that are in your letter in terms of what
Correct.
your responsibilities would be.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how long does that typically take?
About a week's process generally.
Okay, so we could maybe have a special meeting and within the next, before Christmas as an example.
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your explanation. Any other questions for Ms. Madrid or Denise? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could we possibly move acceptance of the City of Carlsbad's recommendation, excluding the agreement to provide the malpractice insurance pending?
I would suggest no, because I think it's an
Because I'm
integral
here's what
part.
I'm thinking, if she needs this approval letter from us and it needs to be in board minutes, then that won't be there, so then she's gonna come back to us, and we're gonna approve this, and
I
then
would say pending.
pending.
That's my thought at least. We would approve pending an insurance policy as requested by the letter being in place. I don't know.
Well, that was kind of the original suggestion that we,
I feel like she's going to need this, and then they're probably gonna ask for the board minutes with our acceptance, and if not, I feel like we're gonna have two special meetings. One to approve this again, and then one to approve the policy, but
well, can we go back then to the idea of approving it contingent on,
Yeah, I believe the conversation was just, it wasn't a matter of whether or not to approve it contingent on the insurance policy. It was just that, at least for my opinion on the board, I would like to see the policy and approve the policy, rather than it just be, signed off on by the chair, whoever it may be. Nothing against the chair.
so contingent, so how are you gonna make this motion?
Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the legal counsel provided by the City of Carlsbad contingent on a board-approved malpractice insurance policy.
Second.
Okay. And if, just for some clarity, if you look at the last paragraph, it says that the City of Carlsbad will begin provide, even though there's a conflict up above, begin providing counsel services at the beginning of the month following the approval of the Eddy Lea Board. So that would indicate that we've got a couple of weeks to get this done. Just to point that out.
Should we need to put a friendly amendment to that to say not to exceed the 2,500 mark?
Yeah, I accept that amendment.
with an incident level of 100,000.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that based on that.
Okay, so let me read what I think the motion is. Move to accept the offer of City of Carlsbad to provide general counsel services for the Eddy Lea Energy Alliance contingent on being able to purchase malpractice insurance at less than $2,500 and per, I guess, somewhere we need to get per $100,000 incident.
Less than 25, yes, $1,000 annually, covering $100,000 per.
And that we will, upon receipt of the policy, have a special meeting to, I don't know how we're going to say that, to further approve that we're going to approve it.
I believe we said it earlier in the motion when we said pending approval by this board.
Okay, okay, all right. All right, are we all clear on the motion? So we have a motion, and we have a second by Mr. Senna. And is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, we will vote. Eddy County,
Yes, Susan Crockett.
Susan Crockett votes yes. City of Carlsbad,
Jason Shirley, yes.
Jason Shirley votes yes. Lee County,
Jonathan Senna, yes.
Jonathan Sena votes yes. City of Hobbs,
David Smith, yes.
Mr. Smith votes yes. So the vote is unanimous. So there is now time, we've reached the point in the agenda where, for public comment, is there any public comment? Hearing none, we will stand adjourned. And Mr. Caldwell, before we adjourn, I want to thank you for everything that you have done and the commitment you've made, and I know it's not always been easy, but thank you so much for the service you've provided the Eddy Lea Energy Alliance. It's been really remarkable, and you've done it in good faith, and you've been able to keep your cool, if you will, at times when things have been rather stressful. So thank you so much, and we all wish you Godspeed. And I know Miss Madrid, I keep calling Miss Madrid, Miss Boyer will be anxious to work with you in any of the past occurrences that have occurred. So thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. We will stand adjourned.
Chairman,
Oh, hold on one second, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, we need to vote, I guess, since we're,
okay.
Miss
Eddy County, yes. Susan Crockett.
City of Carlsbad,
Yes, Jason Sherwood.
Lee County,
Yes, Jonathan Sena.
City of Hobbs.
Yes.
Ben Smith, yes. Thank you all very much for attendance. We appreciate it.